qualify Level 7 Diploma in Business Strategy. This unit is Strategic Marketing, that is the codes for it. My name is Professor Ciara Boyce. I've been lecturing in Leadership and Management since 2013. I'm also a strategist for some organisations here in the UK and further afield. I'm based in Belfast in Ireland, and you are more than welcome to link with me on LinkedIn if you want to widen your network or want to ask questions at a later date. I will let you know that there is 3 dogs in the house, so you may hear the dogs barking, but the door is shut, closed tight, and hopefully you won't hear too much noise. So we all know that the Warden Body is a well-established body throughout the UK and the world. I just want to go over some of the basics around your assignment and the course. So prior to attempting this coursework assignment, learners must familiarise themselves with the following policies: the centre specification, which can be found at this link, the Qualified Quality Assurance Standards, and the Qualified Quality Policy Statement. So, plagiarism and collusion. In submitting the assignment, learners must complete a statement of authenticity confirming that the work submitted is all the tasks is their own. The statement should include the word count. Your accredited study centre will direct you to the appropriate software that checks the level of similarity. This particular board used Turnitin, which is quite common. It's probably the most used one. Plagiarism and collusion are treated very seriously. Plagiarism involves presenting work, excerpts, ideas, or passages of another author without appropriate referencing and attribution. What I would say on that is that I have been teaching now for nearly 10 years. Plagiarism and collusion has not come up very often in my career as a lecturer. Plagiarism is often done unintentionally. A copy and paste from a website, or reference in a theory or a methodology without referencing the author. So just bear in mind, everything that is not your own thoughts or opinions or your organization's, please make sure that you reference them correctly. Collusion is not such a big issue when you have online classes, but it is when we're teaching here in the universities in Ireland. Collusion occurs when 2 or more learners submit work which is so alike in ideas, content, wording, and or structure that the similarity goes beyond what might have been a mere coincidence. There is a little bit of flexibility in the Turnitin software, which I haven't seen one that has ever come, has given us reason for concern to date. There is a qualified malpractice and maladministration policy, and you can find that on your student portal. So a professional approach to work is expected from all learners. All learners must therefore identify and acknowledge all sources, methodologies, and applications used. The learner must use an appropriate referencing system to achieve this. Marks are not awarded for the use of English. However, the learner must express ideas clearly and ensure that appropriate terminology is used to convey accuracy in meaning. So what I would say to my students here in Ireland would be to ensure that you use academic terminology. And what I mean by that is don't use slang or buzzwords or write as you speak, because it dilutes what you're writing in your academic ability. So make sure you ensure that you write it academically and objectively. And we always recommend the Harvard style of referencing throughout your work. I did a history degree, and I very much struggled with referencing. So if you are, I do have some sort of reference documents to help you with this. Once you've cracked it, you'll be great. But it was also always something that was sent back to me by any of my professors or lecturers. So appendices, you may include appendices to support your work. However, appendices must only contain additional supporting information and must be clearly referenced in your assignment. You also may include tables, graphs, diagrams, such as Gantt charts or flow charts that support the main report. Should be incorporated into the back of the assignment report that is submitted. These are a good way to capitalize on the word count, because it can be tricky to work with the word count. Any published secondary information, such as annual reports, company literature, should be referenced in the main text of the assignment in accordance with the Harvard style of referencing and referenced at the end of the assignment. Confidentiality, where a learner is using organizational information that deals with sensitive material issues, they must seek advice and permission from that organization about its inclusion. Where confidentiality is an issue, learners are advised to anonymize their assignment report so that it cannot be attributed to that particular organization. I would also add, and I have had this very much recently, is do not include personal data. So if you are discussing a team member or manager or somebody in the marketing team, please just don't use any personal data on them. So word count policy, learners must comply with the required word count within a margin of 10%. These rules exclude the index, headings, tables, images, footnotes, appendices, and the information contained within the references and the bibliographies. So this is why I was saying that use the images and tables, because they will help you to ensure that you comprehensively answer the question without going over the word count. When an assignment task requires learners to produce presentation slides with supporting notes, the word count applies to the supporting notes only, but we won't be doing a presentation in this one. Submission of assignments. So all work is to be submitted on the due date as per the centre's advice. So I don't see those dates. It will be communicated to you by them. All work must be submitted in a single electronic document, a doc file. Please don't use a PDF file or via Turnitin where applicable. This should go to the tutor and centre manager, programme director, and +1 hard copy posted to the centre manager if required. Qualify uses a standard marking rubric for all assignments, and you can find the details at the end of the document that we will give you. Unless stated elsewhere, learners must answer all of the questions in this document. Okay, so that's the introduction and the boring bit and the terms and conditions over and done with. So now we're going to move on to strategic marketing. So the basics: define business marketing. The marketing of goods and services to commercial enterprises, governments, and other non-profit institutes for use in goods and services that they in turn produce, or for the resale to other industrial customers. So definitions are a good thing for this qualification. Qualify love marketing, well, generally academic institutions love a definition. So I've put some down here. The Chartered Institute of Marketing, the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. The American Marketing Association, marketing is the activity set of institutions and processes of creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. Philip Kotler says that satisfying needs and wants through an exchange process. And on learnmarketing.net, we have one that says products is not about providing products or services. It is essentially about providing changing benefits to the changing needs and demands of the customer. So the common theme here that it needs to and provides benefits. And what it means by that is you buy a TV, but you don't buy the TV. You're buying the benefits of a TV. So you're buying the ability to watch programs, to stop and record, to put additional apps on that TV if it's a smart TV. So that's what we're talking about in the very basics of marketing. Now, strategic marketing. Strategic marketing is the way a business differentiates itself from their customers. This means focusing on your strengths and providing better value to customers than your competitors. So that's the basics of strategic marketing. Now, that's for those of you that have listened to or were in the last class in terms of strategic direction, we did touch on a little bit of marketing. These all intertwine with each other when we're talking about any sort of strategy for an organization. But basically, it is a more targeted approach to marketing for the benefits of that strategic approach. Okay, so strategic marketing will be strategic analysis, which is external analysis, internal analysis, and customer analysis. And then we'll go into formulation of the strategy, targeting, positioning, branding, product development, innovation, relationships, and alliances. And then you will get your implementation. So this is your implementation of the strategy or the strategic marketing plan, and the control and how you would control that. Now, there is other elements to strategic marketing that if I had included them all, we would be way over and above the time allocated to us. So what I want you to do is just take a note of some things. I want you to take a note that when the implementation comes along, this is for your own benefit in your organization, is I want you to write down, to look up communication theory or cycle, which is Argyle, because often with marketing comes, like any strategy, comes you need to have effective communication management, or sorry, effective communication. So we need to have an effective communication plan to make sure any strategy works. So I want you just to keep that in note. Now, you won't need that for this assignment, but the implementation is often where a strategy, whether it be marketing or direction or planning or management, that's generally where it goes wrong. So we're just going to go through a few more definitions of marketing. All activities involved in creation of time, place, and possessions of utilities. The process of planning and executing the concept, pricing, promotion, distribution of ideas, goods, and services to create exchanges that satisfy individual and organizational objectives. And the American Marketing Association said that the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. So, market versus marketing. The market is an arrangement to provide an opportunity to exchange goods. Marketing is the sum total of all those activities that are related to the flow of goods from production to consumption. So marketing, selling, and merchandising. Marketing is a broader concept which is driven from customers' demand. Selling is one part of marketing which deals with persuading customers to buy products that are available with the seller. Merchandising refers to the process offering a variety of products to a retail customer in a manner which stimulates demand. So, what is the importance of marketing? Marketing helps to achieve, maintain, and raise the standards of living. Marketing is means through which production and purchasing power are converted into consumption. So if we have better, I know for those of you who are in my class before, I am not very good with IT. This is one of my development aims. So you'll just have to just ignore the little, I can't do all the fancy stuff on PowerPoint. So better marketing can lead to mass production. Mass production can lead to low cost. So if we're looking at it, it's low cost, more buying power, higher standards of living. So the importance of marketing, point number 2, marketing increases employment opportunities. So marketing involves various functions, sub-functions, which is buying, selling, transport, warehousing, finance, risk management. These functions create need for different specializations. About 30 to 40% of the population depends directly or indirectly on marketing. So marketing increases national income. So more purchasing power and increase in national, which equals to increase in national income. And 4 is helps maintain economic stability and development by maintaining demand-supply balance. Number 5 is it is a link between the producer and the consumer. Number 6 is removes an imbalance of supply and demand by transferring surpluses. And 7 is help create utilities of time, place, and possession. So, in terms of business firms, marketing generates revenue by generating sales and thereby profits. Marketing helps decision-making process, what, when, how much to produce, store, and transport. And 3, it helps change management and innovation. So, an exchange concept. These are the marketing concepts, okay? So the exchange is only a small part of the total marketing process. Other parts of marketing, like customer orientation, other parts of marketing like customer orientation, satisfaction, value creation, creative selling are not covered. Concept number 2 is the production concept. So production in large volume at low cost will be acceptable to users, concentrates on production efficiency, and may do well in distribution, but it is rarely appreciated by the customer. So what do we mean by that? We mean like the supply of water or electricity. People don't realize the production concept, but they'll know when it goes wrong. So the product concept focuses on the design and quality of products, and it believes that customers will automatically buy products of high quality, and the R&D is an essential element of this. So this can be more in terms of high value or luxury goods, because if they're not able to be mass produced and mass sold, then the R&D element will be too expensive to make the concept work. Marketing concepts, the 4th one is a sales concept. So believes that customers need to be persuaded to buy the products. Involves advertising, large-scale promotions, publicity, discounts, and public relations, etc. And it does not take care of the need. So it is more in terms of the old-fashioned cold calling or hard sales, which is something I was never very good at. It is more in terms of persuading us of buying products that we think we need rather than what we actually need. And I'm sure we've all done that. And the marketing concept itself. So it starts with the determination of the customer needs and ends with the satisfaction of these needs. Organizational activities revolve around customers. The products and services are designed specifically to serve the customer needs, and a satisfied customer will only produce profits. So the features of a marketing concept are: 1, consumer orientation always starts with the customer. 2, an integrated management action. 3, consumer satisfaction. And 4 is realizing organizational goals, including profits. What is the benefits of marketing concepts? So it will hopefully provide long-term success. There'll be faster market penetration. There will hopefully be better products. It boosts creativity, integrated functions, and mostly in profits. Better growth for employees, and contributes to the overall growth of the society. So there's a little bit of a dilemma in this, and this is something that will be addressed in your assignment. We talk about the risks in your assignment of any sort of marketing plan or strategy and how you may or may not overcome them. So customer orientation versus product standardization. What that means is that there has to be a balance between what the customer wants and matching that in a good balance with, you don't want to make every mobile phone different. You have to have a certain amount of product standardization. You can't make every car shorter or longer, because of a customer orientation. So that is a difficult one for marketeers. The marketing itself wouldn't work if we didn't have product standardization, because then the cost wouldn't go lower, and then we wouldn't have mass production, which we talked about in the earlier slides. So that's a very difficult balance to manage. We will talk more about customer research and analysis, and then that matching that to the product standardization. Customer orientation versus profits. So the dilemma here is that, yes, we would love to make a different pair of shoes for every person. However, it's not going to make the company any money. So another balance there is that we want to make sure that the customer is the focus of our marketing. But at the same time, essentially why people are in business is profit. And therefore they need to be able to turn a profit, especially when they have investors or stakeholders, etc. 3 is it may ignore social welfare at times. So we will talk a little bit about this later as well. That if we are promoting cars, or we're promoting cigarettes, or we're promoting our marketing plastic, the masks that we had to use during the pandemic, you know, that is social welfare in terms of mass produce of plastic, harmful nicotine to people's bodies. Recently in the UK, we got the sugar tax on sugar to help obesity. That's becoming a rising problem. Alcohol will be the same thing, where we're promoting highly in terms of a new wine that's come out, but we're ignoring the fact that, on the other hand, the government are recommending a certain amount of units a week for adults in the UK. And sometimes it constrains innovation. So why? Because if we are putting focus on marketing, then we're putting focus on customer orientation, product standardization, profits, and then at that time, do we balance it well with the innovation? So whilst we're in the present, which is marketing, you can't market something in the future, and innovation is the future. So it is difficult balance in terms of that. There is an organization here, which I always reference, and I think Google did it as well, which 20% of their working week in any department, they work on an innovative idea within their department. And this has produced a significant amount of benefits for the organization. And I believe there is Gmail, or one of the Google products that was created within that innovation time as well. So those are the kind of dilemmas and the risks. And this is something that you need to note for your assignment, because we need to look at how we would overcome, or you need to look at how we would overcome those risks involved. So just check if we have any questions. No, okay. So marketing management tasks. This is the responsibilities of a marketing management team, okay? So market analysis, often small, medium-sized businesses leave the market analysis out because they don't really understand marketing. So market analysis can be at the very basic level of ensuring your competitors and what they're providing, what is the competition if they do nothing or buy a different product, and what are the trends, and what is the customer profiling within that. Setting goals, so that's fairly simple. If anybody is looking for a particular goal setting method, I always highly recommend the SMART goals method for so many things in your business, whether it be employee development, marketing plans, production plans, strategy plans, doesn't matter. SMART goals, very good method. Forecasting sales and profits. They are responsible for the marketing strategies, which we'll talk a wee bit about later, policies and procedures. We have to be very aware now of at the very basic level, images that we put into marketing, or terminology that we may use, or locations that we may advertise in. There's a number of different policies and procedures that are included in a marketing management team. Involve an appropriate marketing mix, which is again what we we'll talk about later on in the lesson as well. Hopefully you can still see my presentation, because it's just come up to say that you can now see it. Anyway, in the break, I'll put a copy in the group chat. Organize marketing activities, organize resources, participate in product planning. Your marketing team will understand, if they've done their market analysis and customer orientation research properly, that they can then, I suppose, analyze those and that data to help with product planning, locations, amounts, the types of products, whether to stop making a product. There's a whole range of things there as well. They have involvement of managing the supply chain, but it depends on the company. There might be a supply chain team in a bigger company, but essentially you will, by the analysis of the markets and the customers, you will help with the supply chain management. And then after sales activities. So what are we talking about there? It's analytics or data. So it doesn't stop at the sale. We need to make sure we're looking back at the customers and what they have bought, why they have bought them, where have they bought them, how have they bought them. We've all been to go and get a cup of coffee or tea somewhere, and the place only takes cash, for example, and that impacts on the marketing team, which impacts on the sales team. So they are the management tasks, and that's the responsibilities of the marketing management. So we're going to go on to types of marketing. Just want to make sure there's no one asking. No, okay, great. Okay, so a conversational marketing used during negative demand. Customer dislikes the product, may even pay to avoid the product, and it is a very rare thing. So, for example, wastewater. You know, none of us really like it. We don't really want to pay for it, but we also need it. So it's a very difficult sell. Stimulation marketing is the task of transforming a no demand into a positive demand. So used during no demand, the customer is indifferent to the product. Tasks of converting no demand into positive demand. Connect with the product with an existing need and create an environment where need is felt. So I've put in there mushrooms for some. So, you know, people can be quite indifferent to mushrooms. Some people can be allergic to them. And what they mean by that is their marketing might create more dishes with mushrooms, luxurious mushrooms, recipes. There is, I'm sure you've been in stores where, you know, you buy one thing and you get your vegetables on the side for free. So there's, when we're creating no demand, so there wasn't a very big demand for spinach, for example, in the UK, and then there was a huge marketing campaign around it. Superfood, healthier lifestyle, well-being, mental health, positive mental health. And, you know, people are finding themselves buying spinach, which in Ireland we would have never bought it. I don't even think we were able to buy it here. It's the same at Halloween. We never had pumpkins. We had turnips, and then all of a sudden turnips are not used anymore and pumpkins are. But genuinely, when I was growing up, we wouldn't have seen, I wouldn't have known what a pumpkin was. So that is the terms of stimulation marketing. Developmental marketing is used during latent demand. So what are we talking about there? It's a consumer share need for something which does not exist. So it's an opportunity for a marketer to develop a product. So I suppose back when we didn't know we needed mobile phones, that would have been something that was created for us in a long line of other electronic devices coming out. The e-cigarette or the electronic cigarette now is something that 5 years ago, I don't think it was in existence. And now everywhere I go, people have them. I'm not sure how popular they are with where you are, but it is unbelievable the amount of electronic cigarettes that are being sold here in Northern Ireland. So remarketing. Used during fading demand, customers find either no use for the product or a better alternative in the market. So marketers recreate the demand. So what are we talking about there? A lot of people, because of the cost, traveling, pandemic, didn't go to the cinema as much as they used to. So there has been a big marketing campaign in terms of going back to the cinema, creating adult evenings, putting older movies back in the cinema because you might not have been able to see it the first time. We have LP players, which we would have used prior to tapes and DVDs and CDs. They are making a massive comeback in a sort of niche market. And my 14-year-old son decided to go and buy himself one, and the Black Sabbath album or something at a substantial amount of money. So, you know, I think the device itself was £60 and the Black Sabbath LP was 25. So, you know, this is substantial. This is something that had completely gone from the market, and it is now being reintroduced into the market. It's being reintroduced, like vintage clothes is another one that, for those of us who always shopped in charity shops, is not new, but the way they create it, the way they market it is very clever, and therefore they're remarketing those products. So synchro marketing is used during irregular demand. It's normally seasonal products, results in wasteful underutilization of production capacity, and marketers attempt to streamline the demand to meet capacity. So something like here is Christmas trees here in the UK, where obviously they're only really bought around Christmas. Every year there is a substantial amount of waste in terms of these, and it is trying to streamline the demand to meet the supply. We have seen this happen with Easter eggs in the UK, where forever, for as long as I can remember, you were able to buy Easter eggs right up until Easter, the Easter week. Now you have to get them before, they'll be generally gone 3 to 4 weeks before Easter. We have the same with selection boxes, which again was a big focus in my childhood, and now it's very difficult to get them right up to Christmas, but they will go on sale probably around August or September. So the other examples of this are hotels at hill stations or flights during peak season. So how many flights do we put on in July or August, for example, or different, you know, for skiing at Christmas, or, you know, it's that kind of where, how do we measure that? And that is quite a tricky situation to manage as well. So just check if anybody has any questions. No. Okay, so maintenance marketing. So this is used during robust demand. It's established products. There's doesn't need efforts to push supplies. The marketers just really keep a watch on the competition, and the saying is keep sharpening the saw. So they have to make sure that they're ahead of the markets and their competitors, but they have no issue in terms of supply and demand. So what could we use as an example would be books are always in demand, just maybe what type of books. Here in the UK, ketchup and a brown sauce will always be on that sort of robust demand. Toilet roll would be one. So it's sort of more your essentials, the thing that we need to buy, and they have to make sure that they're just out marketing their competitors. So the likes we've seen in the UK, we've seen the likes of social influencers now on Instagram, so that's the next trend. Mrs. Hinch is using this type of bleach, and somebody else is pushing this type of cleaning sponge. So it's just kind of keeping a watch and making sure you're ahead of the game all the time. So this is demarketing. This is another type of marketing, which it's used for an overfull demand or when you want to exit a certain business. So supply falls short of the demand, and marketers discourage customers in choosing certain products. So the biggest one in recent times has been paper products. We've seen a huge decrease in paper products, printing, newspaper decline. In offices, we've seen an increase in clouds and online software. So because they want to move to more paperless. Also with the pandemic, that would have created issues with germs and people having to be close to each other. So we have seen a decrease in terms of that. And now everything is moving on to a digital platform. And then counter marketing. So it's used when the demand is considered unwholesome. Marketers try to destroy demand. So I've put in there the types of examples would be alcohol, drugs, or cigarettes. Now, the counter marketing the marketing would still be the same as one of the others. So you would be pushing the new wine. You would have marketing around PR, social influencers, social media, promotions within institutes or bars or hotels that you would be putting this as wine of the week, something like that. However, we then have counter marketing, which the government is normally, or here in the UK, we've got the Public Health Agency that would often do stuff like this, which they are counter marketing that. So they are pushing that, I think it's 14 units a week for a woman and 16 units a week for a man or something of that nature. So they're pushing the health benefits. We now again in the UK on cigarette packets have very, very graphic images of lungs that are, of smokers or hearts, etc. We have significant advertising on adverts around speeding, car crashes, quite graphic again, and showing what can happen. And we've had a recent one in there's been an increase in fires caused by mobile phones in the UK, and we've seen a lot of advertising around, the what can happen if a mobile phone goes on fire. So that would be our counter marketing, and that it depends on lots of things, as any strategy would, but who's got the bigger budget, who's got I suppose the X factor. The wine is going to be maybe more attractive and desirable to some people than listening or reading the government information. So it can be a very difficult balance to manage that. And often companies like these, alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, have a high tax. They are expensive, and therefore the companies have significant profits to spend on marketing. So, okay, I'm just going to check if any of you have any messages for me. Nope. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm just going to touch a wee bit on the difference between marketing and sales. So marketing focuses on the general population. Sales focuses on an individual. Marketing identify customer needs and create products to fulfill those needs. So again, customer focus that we talked about in an earlier slide. Sales is that we want to persuade the customer that the product fulfills his needs or her needs or their needs. Marketing is more consumer focused, sales is more profit focused. Marketing should, in theory, if done properly, protect the brand's reputation, and sales protects the brand's customers. Marketing may tell a story to many people, and sales may bring the company story to life. Marketing rely on sales to close deals, and sales rely on marketing to generate or create the leads. Two little images here. Here's the marketing funnel, which is awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty, and advocacy. And then we go back up to awareness. The sales funnel is lead generation, lead qualification, closure, portfolio management, CRM, referrals back to lead generation. So if we're talking about marketing, we're talking about customer reach, consumer focus. What do they want? Get them to buy their product, get them to stay with us as an organization, and then become somebody that would recommend us. The sales funnel will be a lead generation, a lead qualification. So, we may be interested, but we're not really sure. It's not company focused, so it's a harder process. Then qualification in terms of, is that the right person? Can they afford to buy this product? Are they right target for us? Closure is closing the sale. Portfolio management, what else can we sell them? What other service have we got that they might be interested in? And that's where your CRM systems comes in, which is often actually where companies have this. They get to closure and they don't see themselves as salespeople, so they don't keep portfolio management or CRM systems or any type of systems in terms of previous clients. And then hopefully we will get the referral back again. So what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take a break now instead of at 6, because I don't want to break in the middle of the theories, models, and techniques of strategic marketing, because this is quite important for you to use in your assignment. So I am going to take a break now. Well, first I'll ask if there's any questions. You can fire away with any questions in the chat box or ask them. It's totally fine. If not, I will see you back in 11 minutes, which is 6 p.m. GMT time. So I will see you back at 6 p.m. GMT. That's in 11 minutes. So try and make sure you walk around, stretch your legs. This online learning can be tough. Grab a cup of tea or coffee or water, and I'll see you back at 6. Okay. This is something that marketers struggle with, because lots of things can damage reputation very quickly. And it can be actions in all parts of the organization that can create bad publicity or damage your reputation. So for example, a sports team, the marketing team are doing a very good job, and then one of the players or one of the athletes goes and ends up in the news headlines over something that they did. And that it can be a very difficult thing to manage as well. So if you have a good reputation and it's a strength, or you might have a reputation in a particular field, or you might have a reputation in a particular market, that's your strength. Your weakness might be that you don't have a reputation in another part or another market. So you will see diversification of products. Nike might go from their trainers to making footballs. Their reputation is good, mostly, but potentially when they took that decision to supply other products, their reputation for supplying footballs, for example, wasn't as high as a strength that in terms of their trainers. So oddly enough, I ran an huge amateur football club here in Ireland as a volunteer for the last 4 years. And Nike footballs were much better, which we'll talk about in the products. But firstly, they weren't as well known and significantly more expensive. So it would have been harder for a marketing department to market that to me as the decision maker for probably £40,000 worth of footballs. So that gives you a little bit of strengths and weaknesses in terms of reputation. Strength and cost has a load of other metrics in it. Cost is that not necessarily low cost, it is customer expectation cost. So that is what they are expecting to pay for a product or a service. And then weakness obviously is the same thing. So what are the questions? Are we too expensive? Are we too cheap? Are we seen as the sort of lower end of the market? So I'll give you an example here where you will get in the UK, the brand cornflakes cereal in the morning, which will be Kellogg's, for example. You will get the standard supermarket own, and then you will get what's called the value range. Now, in my mind, they all taste the same. And I know that there is some of those products that are actually produced by the leaders in the market, but there will be people who won't buy the value, first because of the packaging, secondly because of reputation, thirdly because they're thinking if the cost is so low, then there must be something wrong with the product. So there's a whole matrix of things there in terms of cost, and of course that would go back to reputation and product development as well. Your project management, how would you manage maybe a change in direction or a change in marketing strategy? Who would be involved in that? How would they manage it? Will it be communicated correctly? Will it be received correctly in the way it was supposed to be? That's why I mentioned about the communication cycle, and my suggestion would be to read up on that. Again, weaknesses is the same. So are we very good at marketing, but our project management isn't as effective as it should be? Do we need a specialist to come in and project manage this particular marketing strategy, for sake of argument? Speed of delivery. I'm not going to explain all of these one by one. It's really, Amazon is here in the UK literally within 24 hours. There will be a number of other companies that just cannot compete in terms of that. Easy to use. People do not like things. That we are living in such a transactional society now, where everything is easy to use. It's at our fingertips, and anything that creates any barrier at all can be seen as a significant weakness. We've all been on a website that didn't take the card properly or wouldn't recognize something, and often you will lose your customer there. Quality, if it's good quality for cost, good quality for speed of delivery, good quality in terms of it might be easy to use. And again, if it's not good quality, or it's good cost but it's not easy to use, it can be seen as a weakness. So communication. Unfortunately, this is not one I'm lecturing on for this institute, but this is something that I find in most organizations are terribly managed. They're very good at the other areas, and it generally falls down because nobody has actually considered how to communicate any of these things. So marketing, yes, would be, I suppose, based on communication, but sometimes it can be very much not customer focused and more product focused, and then they don't get the consumer orientation that we talked about in the last slide. Low risk processes. So, again, that would be buying knives. If it's a strength where they're packaged up correctly and they're safe, and they're able to be put away. There's been a significant campaign here on the Wishing tablet, the pods, because children were getting into the lids. And they were getting them out, so that was then seen as a weakness, and there was a big customer shift back to powder, for example, so that it wasn't concentrated, and a child's probably not going to put powder in its mouth. However, in again counter marketing to that, they put on significant safety clips onto the top of the boxes, and they had a lot of campaigning and advertising using celebrities showing how safe these were to use around children. So procurement and supply management, we've seen an increase significantly in the cost of living in the UK. For example, diesel has gone up 100%. Our electricity has gone up 50%. So it doesn't really matter who we use to produce the product. The procurement and the supply will cause that weakness but then we also don't have an alternative. And then people. Which in my view shouldn't be at the bottom of the list, but here we are. Do you have good people? Have you a good team? Have you a good senior management? Are you, is your leaders within your organization compassionate and empathetic? Have they good expertise, knowledge, experience in their field? If not, is there a development plan in place for every employee to then ensure that those gaps are filled? And again, weaknesses is exactly the opposite to that. So opportunities. So strengths and weaknesses are current, and then opportunities and threats are the future. So the opportunities, enter a new market. We have an opportunity to enter a new market here. What are the risks? Do we have an option? Is our strengths enough to be able to enter that market? Is it profitable? Do we have the expertise in our team? This is the opportunities we might ask in terms of marketing. Developing a new product is also an opportunity. We need to manage the risk on that in terms of making sure the customer analysis is done correctly and extensively to make sure that the demand will be there for it. An opportunity to reduce costs, to add new clients, expand in a new geographical area, which I was talking about earlier, opportunities to launch a marketing campaign, hire new people, new stores or locations, purchase competitor, increase quality of product, reduce risk, increase time of delivery, and raise morale, which I think a lot of people, a lot of organizations are struggling with at the minute. There is a massive, they're calling it the Great Resignation. A lot of people reevaluating their employment and what they want to go into the future with after the pandemic of the last 2 years. So there is a great recruitment crisis here in the UK, and significantly demotivated staff and teams for a number of different reasons. So, you know, we can raise morale through the opportunities that are presented, and the marketing team can be doing internal marketing as well as external marketing in terms of that. So, and then threats. What are the threats to the marketing and the organization? A new competitor comes into the market, an existing competitor expands or creates a new product, increased supplier costs, decrease in market demand, production disruption, breakdown, etc., increasing customer dissatisfaction, in decreasing quality of work, acts of God. So that will be a tornado or a tsunami, or you know, here we'll have storms, but they're not really that difficult to deal with. At the minute, there is significant discussions about the heat in the UK, and it's really not that hot. So those are the acts of God. Loss of key people to competitors, huge issue in the market and businesses at the minute. Systems and products becoming obsolete, bankruptcy of a supplier, client dissatisfaction, or a customer's inability to pay. So there are some, those are the types of questions. Now, they won't all be relevant to marketing, but I just wanted to put some examples in there so that you had something to work with, because sometimes when you put a SWOT up, what are our strengths, but we don't really know what questions to ask there. You know, what are our strengths? Okay, we're really good at producing books. You know, it's not, we need to look and dig deeper into this. So that's why I've put some of them in. And there may be some there that I hope at level 7 you will see that isn't there, and that you will put them into your own SWOT analysis when you come to your own organization. Okay, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is one of my favorite models or methodologies or tools, techniques. I talk about this a lot in leadership. I talk about this a lot in motivation. And I wanted to put it into marketing because I want you to understand that this is basically a well-tested pyramid that can be used in a number of different, well, in life generally, okay? But particularly in marketing, we should be aware of this. So why should we be working? Why would we be looking at this in terms of strategic marketing? Well, so Maslow's hierarchy of needs state that our basic needs there at the bottom of the pyramid are biological and physiological. So that's food, sleep, and water, okay? Safety would be the next, security, health, and finances, okay? So those are the two basic needs. It's good to do this post-pandemic because so many people all over the world who might not have experienced this previously will have gone to the very bottom of this pyramid, where at some points in the pandemic, water or food was not able to be supplied. You know, sleep, for example, I didn't get much sleep because all my 4 children were at home because I couldn't go to school. But you know, for the first time in you know, in their lives, they struggled with the very basic needs being not fulfilled. Then we looked at safety, which is health, which is obviously the main one for a pandemic. People couldn't go to work because of self-isolation. People couldn't go to work because it was not key or it wasn't essential, or people had to go to work and then they were putting themselves into danger and working in hospitals or key workers or driving a HGV lorry, for example. And then that was impacting on their security. So, you know, people have gone through a really difficult time in so many different ways in the last 2 years. And these basic needs now were no longer being met. And for a significant amount of the population, for example, in the UK, they've never experienced this before. So when we're marketing, are we marketing at the very basic of needs? So toilet roll, for example, there was a great supermarket charge for, you know, toilet roll for some unknown reason at the start of the pandemic, and tins of food. So, you know, if I was a marketing person in that time, you know, I would be looking at moving my marketing strategy towards what can I supply that meets your biological or physiological needs or your safety. Am I an insurance broker? Do I want to start to push policies around sickness and you know, have you got health insurance? Have you got you know, with it overwhelming in the National Health Service here in the UK? So those are the type of things that we might have a completely different strategy, marketing strategy this way, and we need to swap it, which is strategic marketing. We're looking at the consumer, the data that was significantly available to us during that time by the government sources and other sources. Okay, after our biological and our physiological needs are met and our safety needs are met, then we're looking for love and belonging. So people who might have gone right down to the bottom there at the very start of the pandemic in the UK, then they started moving up to the safety, and that was slowly becoming fulfilled, where people were allowed to work from home, they were still getting paid, they might have had the furlough scheme introduced by the government. So there was a slow kind of movement back up into the biological, physiological, and then into safety. So then what did people need? People needed connections with others. So that might have been more communication via texts or Zoom calls or quizzes or photographs or social media, because even though they couldn't connect physically, they needed to connect on some level. And as the pandemic started to lift and the restrictions, you know, some people were still in that because of vulnerabilities and stuff, but, you know, society needs to have that belonging, and they need to have that fulfilled. So we'd move up to that. So what would I be looking at if I was a marketing team there? I'd be looking at, software that you might be able to download on your phone, or new products around easier use for people who were not as IT savvy as other people. Or if the restrictions had started to lift, as a strategic marketing team, we would have been looking at promoting we had a eat out scheme here, which was government run. And our marketing team, we would have been looking at, drop all other marketing tools. Let's focus on the voucher scheme that has been released by the government. So then, slowly but surely, people started to come up this pyramid, and started to have a bit more self-esteem, maybe felt a bit better when they were going out. A lot of people started swimming and cycling and running and things that they might not have done before, which gives them a sort of different aspect to the sort of grind of the 40-hour week. What would I be looking at then? I've never seen so many people in a, what are they called? Coat, the big coats, the big, like when you get out of the swimming or the cold water, they have these big something robes, they're called. And suddenly everyone around me has one. And this is because they started to look for other ways to get some respect or recognition or self-esteem or look after themselves. So there was a great move towards well-being. Whether that's sustained is kind of in the mix at the minute, because ultimately human nature does not change that much and the cycle does return. And then not many of us get to self-actualization. So this is meeting one's full potential in life, and different for every person. So if I wanted to be, which I did, I wanted to be a dancer. I didn't get to be the dancer. And at that time, that would have given me that. However, significantly amount of years later, I do really love teaching. I really love lecturing, and I really like meeting and helping other people to find them some self-esteem and hopefully their full potential. But if we were looking at it from a strategic marketing point of view, then we'd be looking at what gives people respect, what gives people status, what gives people recognition and strength and self-esteem. Is it a bike that you can run from home on the internet? Is it the new trainers that you found? Is it something that you achieve? We're looking at the newest app to help with your mental health, and we're marketing team for that. We would be pushing that in the pandemic, and we would be pushing it significantly more as people started to meet those bottom level needs. And then we all have the meeting one's full potential. Everyone has seen the marketing that tries to use this particular area. So, if you wear Nike trainers, you're going to be able to run like her. If you wear lipstick, then you will, be like that. If you try this new bike, then you will become the, world racer #1, which is all not true, but they are using that particular self-actualization to use the marketing because of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What I would say on that is that during the pandemic, for example, which is good that you are learning about this now, is that people also move up and down this, and they would have fluidly moved up and down this during the pandemic. So when we had lockdown, and then it was restrictions were released, and then back to lockdown, and then restrictions were released, and those people who were more vulnerable, or they had lost people in terrible circumstances, we were all in different aspects here in terms of these needs. People that you wouldn't have thought would have been so nervous around this kind of stuff suddenly became, faced with this situation, became extremely nervous and extremely withdrawn. And then you find other people that just didn't take any of the restrictions into consideration where they didn't have to. So that's the movement in terms of Maslow. Now, Maslow is very good in terms of marketing. It's very good in terms of motivation, motivating people to buy. but also within your organization as well. You know, so there's many, many uses for Maslow, but in terms of marketing, that's the kind of stuff we'll be looking at. Okay, this is another analysis tool. So it's Pestel Analysis that we talked about in the last session. So what are we looking at in terms of marketing here? How do we analyze our own organization and our marketing? What are our political influences? If I am a supplier of whiskey, you know, is the government going to put more restrictions and more tax onto my industry? That's going to create economic problems for me. It's probably going to create social problems for me because people, especially at the minute with the cost of living crisis, consumers may not be able to afford to pay for the products that I produce. Technological, that might be affected because of the profits, because of the political decision that has an influence on my supply and demand, which obviously has an economic area. And then, you know, where does my innovation come in, or the production systems and processes that we would have in place, transport, a whole range of things. Environmental, how would that affect me? We might have an increase in the well-being from the government, and therefore sales of my whiskey may decrease. And then legal, for example, lots of years ago when they brought in you couldn't buy alcohol under a certain age, that would have had a significant impact. Health and safety laws are generally the one that impacts the most on there, significantly. So how would I look at these in terms of my marketing team in my organization, and identify what impacts on me in terms of these 6 areas, and potentially how could we combat, you know, how could we minimize risk, which is another question in your assignment. So we want to look at how to minimize risk here. You know, if we know a political decision is going to come out that's going to affect us, then we need to make sure our marketing is comprehensive and complex and well planned, that we can get our message out before we know that's going to happen. So that's the sort of areas that we want to look at. If we know, for example, that summertime that people might get an extra bonus for or Christmas, then we would look at what can we market that will increase or either affect or either limit or give us opportunities in terms of our economics there. So we want to look at both what opportunities there are within these 6 and what are the limitations in these 6, and how does that impact in our marketing, and how would we change that to minimize the risk. Because remember, the marketing will effectively have a significant effect on supply and demand, product production, and ultimately profitability. Okay, I'll just check if not any questions. Okay, no questions at the minute. Okay. Throat's getting dry now. Okay, so Porter forces is sort of the main theory around marketing, probably the most used. It is a great area. There is a lot of research that you can go on to to look at these and analyze this. It is a fairly simple model. There is, and I have Excel spreadsheets around different areas of Porter's forces, but this is what essentially we want to look at. We want to analyze the threat of new entrants, which is self-explanatory. We want to analyze the buyer's bar. So for example, as our standard of living increases in the UK, for example, the buying power is increased. However, in terms of supplier power, at the minute, utility companies diesel, oil, all they are holding the power at the minute. So that's the difference in terms of those. So we're looking at the supplier power, and we're looking at the buyer power, and then we're looking at the threat of substitution. And then in the middle, we are looking at existing competitor rivalry. Now, again, when you are doing your analysis of your strategic marketing plan, threat of new entrants to the industry does not necessarily mean just competitors. So if we make chocolate, but a sweetie company bring out something else, we need to be aware of that, because it might not be a direct competitor, but it will be a competitor. It will be a new entrant into the market. Organic is very, very big in marketing at the minute. And there we might look at, threats of new entrants, but maybe not a direct competitor to our products, but they will market it in such a way that people will feel obliged to buy them, for example. So what are we looking at? Buyer power. What is our customer? What type of household income does our customer have? If it is a customer, if it's a business, what type of investment, what type of people do they have? What type of industry are they in? They might be a supplier, what might be on the other side. So we need to look at the different and analyze that. Threat of substitution is pretty self-explanatory. We need to look at what our customers might substitute our products and services for. I always say this, remember, there is also the option to do nothing. So I suppose when people are writing about competitors, it's always direct competitors, a book for a book, a car for a car, a football for a football. They're not thinking about a football for a tennis racket, 2 tennis rackets and a tennis ball. It's substitution. Remember, it's not competitors. It might be not to buy anything at all. It might be I've walked into the shop, I came to buy a ball. The marketing wasn't very good because there was a big sign that said, all these footballs are half price. And there was no footballs in the basket. And when I asked somebody, they didn't have any. So I left without purchasing anything. And then existing competitor rivalry. So who are the competitors in my industry? Are they the types of bitter rivalries, or is there an element of working together on certain products, or maybe a social responsibility? We have seen history made really in the States where some pharmaceutical companies have come together and worked together for the benefit of producing drugs to combat with a number of different diseases. So we also did see this in some respects around the pandemic because of the need to get out because of the threat of safety. So, okay, my throat is going here. Okay. If anybody has any message, no, nobody has any messages. Okay, so that is a lot of theories, techniques, and tools here. And when I do the next lesson or lecture, I'll go through the assignment criteria by criteria, and I'll refer back to this PowerPoint in terms of what you might apply these for different parts of the question. Okay, so this is the 7 P's of marketing. It used to be 4, then it was 5, now it's 7. There is talk about 8 and 9, but I'll give you a flavor of what you want to look at. So what are the things that we need to look at as a strategic marketing team? It's also a very well-known theory and model. Is the price, okay, self-explanatory. Is it at the customer's expectation? Is it the right price? Promotion. How are we promoting it? Why are we promoting it? Where are we promoting it? How are we promoting it? And what are we promoting? So here's where it comes back to the benefits. We're not promoting the TV. We're promoting the services and the benefits we get from the TV. So we have sometimes marketing teams forget the what What are we promoting? What are the benefits of our products? What are the benefits of our services? Physical evidence. So we are looking at just that, like, do people use phones? Do they like running? Have we talked to people? Have we customer data on this information? Can we gain customer data on this information or on this area? So this is the physical evidence, the things that we can't guess. You know, it's the physical stuff that we can actually see data and analysis, or we can talk to our customers, or we can see the increase in runners, or we can see the increase in cold water swimmers. Physical evidence. People. Who's going to buy our products? Why? When? How? Are we targeted at the right area? Are we targeted at the right product at the right area? Are we customer profiling well enough with research and data so that we make sure that we're promoting the right product at the right person? So for example, I'm a mum of 4 children. If you're going to try and sell me a very expensive lipstick, probably not going to happen. If you're going to try and sell me a sports car with 2 seats, it's not going to happen. So we have to make sure that as marketing teams, we are looking at the people and we are analysing the customer and the customer profiling against the products and services that we are producing. The product itself, is it the right product? Did the costs add up? What about the risk involved of a new product? Do we stay with our own current product? Do we innovate? Do we have the money to innovate? Do we have the expertise to innovate? Is the product in demand? When is it in demand? What specific product is in demand? A lot of people, especially smaller companies, put all their products on their marketing, and people as human beings, we can't take all of that in, and they don't break them down. They don't do market segmentation that we talked about earlier. We need to look at, on the very basic level, when I'm working in consultancy in the local government here, I say pick 5 people that you know will pick it, give them names, profile them in the very basic of ways, and then make sure you're selling the right product to the right person. Okay, so if you have t-shirts, you can't sell me a large and you can't sell me a 3-year-old t-shirt. So make sure that you're selling the right one, so that when I get your email marketing leaflet, or I go on your website, or you have a paid campaign on social media, you're targeting the right product at me. Processes. Is it health and safety will come into this, cost will come into this, supplier will come into this, utilities, costs, the potentially software, the manufacturing techniques, the machines in the factories that you might use, all come into this. Can I use that in my marketing? Do we have a safe factory environment that I can promote that? Because remember, we're promoting for reputation as well. You know, do people want to come and work for us? Why would they want to come and work for us? Because of, look at this great area of work, or the place, the location that you can be employed in. So we want to look at the process in that place. Where are we in the market? Are we high end? Are we luxury? Are we low end? Are we in the middle? Is the middle too saturated with other products? How do we differentiate? Where am I? Geographically, where am I? If I'm supplying just to my local area, can I lift that and move it and drop it into another area geographically? Are we looking at 18 to 20-year-old, 24-year-olds? Are we looking at 41-year-old men? Are we looking at 60-year-old women? Which one, which area, which place? Is it the right place? Is it the right product? Is it the right price? You know, this is the marketing mix that we need to make sure that we are tackling all 7 of these all of the time. And a good marketing team or a good marketing person will have this on a continual cycle. You know, only the very largest of organizations will have a full team working on this all the time. In smaller organizations, you will find a smaller team, and generally they will have special specialists or a slightly more trained person. And that's what I would promote if I was in an organization. Pick some people and make them put them through development in terms of developing that particular type of marketing, or that particular type of marketing analytics, or marketing research, or social media, or traditional marketing, which is now somewhat coming back as well, returning to the market. So we're seeing sort of an increase in writing letters and sending CVs through the post, and leaflets, and actually newspapers are coming back into the market as well. So we are seeing a slight increase in traditional marketing, because as the cycle goes, we are now receiving far too much electronic marketing, and we are now not really able to differentiate. We all have been that we just click down our emails, delete, 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 delete. If you get that through the post, would you have more of a success rate? Oh, I would hope so. So just to finish on this point, the 7 Ps marketing mix and the consumer decision-making theories help you understand customers' desires and overall business goals. The SWOT analysis, the Pestel analysis as well, and the Porter's 5 forces let you tackle internal and external forces affecting your campaigns. And market segmentation and Maslow's theory help you understand how to craft an effective campaign content. Okay, so it is now